We do have a guest this morning.
Hey.
Yeah, and usually we have him on Fridays, but we're happy to bring on our friend and colleague, Michael Medved from KTTH's Michael Medved Show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Ursula, and welcome back to you, and good morning, Gee.
Hey, good morning, brother.
Hey, we are just going to jump right in. There is pretty much breaking news. This just happened moments ago. President Biden has unveiled some executive actions on gun control, including new investments in intervention programs in violence-prone communities. He's also directing his administration to tighten restrictions on so-called ghost guns and pistol stabilizing braces that allow weapons to be used more accurately. I want to get your take on not just ghost guns, but these executive actions being taken today.
Well, I haven't had a chance to look at the executive actions yet in any detail, but generally it's a mistake to try to do things through executive orders because they can be undone by the next president, and it's really not the way the Constitution is supposed to operate. And the idea of regulations on ghost guns, as I understand it, there could be bipartisan support for that if they actually went to Congress. I know that every Democratic president has attempted to have some enhanced gun regulations. This is the time. And even with the narrow Democratic majorities in Congress, on basic things like red flag laws, keeping guns out of the hands of people who are crazy and dangerous, I honestly believe something could be done on a bipartisan basis. And I really, really wish that Biden would take advantage of that opportunity because otherwise, frankly, I think Democrats are going to lose their majorities in 2022.
Well, just to follow up on that, and I think you make a good point. So the Justice Department is being asked to draft model legislation to enact those red flag laws at the state level. You feel you would be in support of red flag laws in every state or imposed?
Absolutely. I don't think people who have psychiatric problems should have free access to guns.
Okay, that's simple. Where else do you think there could be bipartisan support?
Well, some of this idea of ghost guns. Guns should be traceable. And frankly, universal background checks is so widely supported. I saw polling recently that showed that there was over 90% support for that. The NRA says they're in favor of universal background checks. But look, the idea we have these two shooters who in Atlanta and the one in Boulder, Colorado. They both acquired their weapons just days before they committed their crimes.
Legally.
And they both are obviously people who are crazy and mentally unstable. And there has to be a way of making that less available, making firearms less available to people who are mentally imbalanced and dangerous.
Hey, Michael, is ghost guns a problem in our country? I didn't even know it was a problem.
Again, apparently it is because it's a way that people can get around things like background checks.
No, it was just kind of news to me. I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to go back to voting and what's going on in Georgia right now. Just last week, there was a poll that found that 6 in 10 Republicans also believe in the lie that the presidential election was stolen from Donald Trump because of widespread voter fraud. How are Georgia's new voting laws, and I'm going to give you some examples in a second, how are Georgia's new voting laws not a direct endorsement of that massively dangerous lie?
Well, because most of the new voting law is there's stuff in the Georgia law that actually expands the time for early balloting, for early voting. The idea is this is one of those many issues where I think that both sides have gone polarized, have gone to extremes.
Agreed.
This is not a Jim Crow law. That's not fair. Is it a well-considered, well-designed law? No, it's not that either. And again, you're right. I think that the attempt by the governor, who, remember, President Trump wants not to be reelected. President Trump is opposed to him because the governor certified the election results in Georgia last time. The attempt by the governor to placate people in Georgia who believe that the election was stolen, which is probably a lot of people, polls show it's a lot of people, that's something that I think is unfortunate. But I don't think that if this law were in place, it wouldn't have changed the outcome in Georgia.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of these things. Now, I want to make sure that I'm getting this right. There's a few dangerous things in here. Now, I know that it's easy to talk about some of the good things that are put in there. It's almost like telling the kids, hey, you guys can stay up all night, and then at the very end, but like, hey, but you have no TV to watch while you're staying up. But listen, here's something that stands out. The new Georgia voting law removes from the secretary, the state election board, the vote of the Secretary of State, even though under Georgia Constitution, the Secretary of State oversees election, it puts the board under the control of the legislature. My question to you is, are you okay with that? So
No.
that means that
I
President Trump called down to Georgia and tried to illegally tamper in it. My question is are you okay with that rule?
No, I'm not okay with any of it. And look, the truth of the matter is that for the president to call the Secretary of State and say, will you find me 12,000 extra votes so I can win the state of Georgia, the stupidity of all that is that Georgia wasn't even necessary for Biden's win. You know, it's just gravy. Trump wasn't that close. But the point about the Georgia law, the worst part about it, and you've hit the target, Gee. There's no question about it. The worst part is that it puts the legislature in charge of supervising the election result.
That's bad,
what
right?
Happened
Republican
In
controlled.
Georgia, the laws as they existed before this so-called reform worked out well. They had 5 recounts, and Biden won all of them.
Okay, and so basically, there was no reason to change it, right?
Correct.
Okay, so here's the next one that kind of.
There was one reason to change it.
Okay,
which is some of the mail-in ballot rules had been sort of done ad hoc because of the pandemic. Part of what they are doing now is they're making the availability of absentee ballots not conditional on just a pandemic. You can get an absentee ballot for any reason you want in Georgia. You don't need to give an excuse. Now, that's a move in the right direction.
I'm glad you know what, Michael? I'm glad you brought up the mail-in deal. So check this out. Another one is this. You can still vote absentee for any reason, but it's now illegal for officials to send absentee applications to every voter. Why was that a problem, Michael?
It was a problem because it was done this last time because of the pandemic. And what they're trying to say is that with the absentee voting now more organized under the state control, people can request their absentee ballot. I think they have 3 months to do it. And again, the idea that this is some kind of restrictive voting law is simply not the case. What they don't want is some future Secretary of State or some future governor to basically say, okay, we're going to send out absentee ballots to everybody because they, unlike the state of Washington, by the way, I like voting absentee. I don't understand why people prefer to wait in line and go to the polling place. And I think that absentee voting is probably more reliable and less subject to fraud than voting in person is. But having said that, do I agree with every detail of the bill? No. But does it require boycotts of Georgia or canceling the Major League Baseball All-Star game? This is not a bill that frankly changes things all that drastically in Georgia or anywhere.
Does the Republican Party still believe in the free market deciding? Because that used to be something that the Republicans, if there's some things that I got to say that I used to love, is that part, is where they allowed the free market to decide. And isn't that what Major League Baseball just did? The free market decided.
Yes, but the free market can make wrong decisions. I don't think it should be the government that controls where the All-Star game is. Baseball has to do that. But this is a silly and needless politicization of a great American game that should engage and appeal to all Americans, regardless of politics. I don't want the MLB being on one side or the other.
I think you make some great points, Michael. I want to point out something that Senator Mitch McConnell said. He had choice words for MLB, Coca-Cola, Delta Airlines because of this Georgia voting law.
My warning, if you will, to corporate America is to stay out of politics. I'm not talking about political contributions. Most of them contribute to both sides. They have political action committees. That's fine. It's legal. It's appropriate. I support that. I'm talking about taking a position on a highly incendiary issue like this and punishing a community or a state because you don't like a particular law they passed. I just think it's stupid.
I've just got to say, what I thought was kind of humorous was initially McConnell just said, stay in your own lane. And then he had to change it to say, well, wait, we do like the money coming in. keep the donations
we'll still take
coming.
Your money. Look, to say to corporations, stay out of politics, I don't think is right. I think corporations have a perfect right to participate in politics,
Seriously.
just like you do, just like I do, just like any organization. Now, if the corporation wants to apply for tax-exempt status, forget it. Then you have to stay out of politics.
Hey, Michael, I want to go back to the All-Star game, and you brought up the fact that, using this game, and it shouldn't be used in this time because that was your response to the free market. Let me ask you this. What if Major League Baseball decided to stop with the singing of the national anthem during its games? Would that be a problem?
I think it would be ill-advised, should government then step in? No, of course not. I think Major League Baseball could make that choice, but they'll lose a lot of fans.
It's almost like a moving goalpost, Michael. It's
Why?
like the goalpost moves based on who's talking about it and based on who likes it. If there's one thing I've learned about stick to sports or stick to corporations or stick to this, that's only used when someone doesn't like what's being said on the other end. And so that's why it's so hard with this mental gymnastics. And your boy got a bad hamstring.
If I can step in, G, for just a second. The basic rule, there's a basic rule of leave it alone. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Voting?
And right now I don't think that there is a big sweeping desire on the part of the fans to alter the policy on the national anthem. But
was Georgia voting broke?
If they did, it would be considered very political. Moving the All-Star game from where it's already been scheduled, I wouldn't say, we want Major League Baseball to move the All-Star game to Atlanta because they passed such a great election reform law. They didn't. But if they did that, that would be very political. Moving away from Atlanta because of a law they passed is very political, and they should stay away from it.
Okay, we only have a little bit of time left, Michael, and this is a big topic. You and I have discussed this before, where I feel like President Biden has not gone far enough in trying to deter what is happening on the border. And just a few minutes ago, we got a headline that says U.S. authorities picked up nearly 19,000 children traveling alone across the Mexican border in March. That's the largest monthly number ever recorded. And it is a major test for President Biden.
Without question.
Yeah.
And if there's been one big failure of the Biden administration so far, it's been handling of this border issue. And the fact is, all they say is they shrug. There's nothing we can do. And frankly, they need to send a much clearer message about the immigration system and to deter this idea that, everybody's now welcome because Biden says we can have as much immigration as we want.
Michael, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us today. Since you can't do it tomorrow, it is always one of our favorite discussions.
Well, thank you, and I look forward to getting back to our regular schedule. And look, I apologize because we seem to agree about most stuff. But
not today, not today.
No. Well, that's always good. Ursula, appreciate it, and welcome back. And let's enjoy a wonderful spring. And the Mariners escaped their homestand at 500. That's good.
Hey, Michael, you got a good weekend planned on tap? You got a good weekend coming up?
Well, we do because we're now vaccinated, and we can see our family, and we can see our friends. We're hosting people at our home, which we used to love to do, which we haven't done for a year, for a Sabbath meal. So that's a big deal for us, and God bless the vaccination. And by the way, Biden's done a pretty darn good job getting those vaccines into people's arms, and I think he deserves some credit.
Okay, I'm just going to say one more thing. Thank you, Michael, for saying that because I agree. And what I especially like about our conversations, because you said we mostly agree, but even when we don't agree, it's okay. It's okay not to agree, right? I mean, that's the whole point.
It's America not to agree.
Yeah,
America is based on an argument, and our country has always won the argument ultimately.
And I think it's important for everybody to look into the whole Georgia voting laws and read through it because, like so many things, I think the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Michael, you keep me sharp, bruh.
Thank you, my friend. And listen, you have a great weekend. You have something great planned, I hope.
Yeah, I'm going to be chilling, sitting down.
That's it.
Thanks,
care,
Michael. Michael Medved, love having him on, and he really does it makes me think, and I learn a lot. And by the way,
Always.
When you have these discussions and you have these back and forths, and I can't even tell you how many back and forths that Ursula and I have had over the last over a year.